Itapu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Qesankh Ma'akaparu with another video for you. In this video, we're going to be talking about the revolution will not be televised. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button and get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. Also, I do have free ebooks for you. So if you're looking to take your spiritual knowledge to the next level, scroll down below, click on the ebooks, start reading them today. But if you want to learn even more, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. You can cancel at any time. There's no obligation. You'll get exclusive access to instructional videos and articles on the esoteric, on the spiritual, and they will teach you how to invoke spirits for your protection, how to communicate with the ancestors, how to astral project, how to do self-hypnosis to curb overeating or any negative habits, and to do divination, to work with the oracles. So become a Patreon supporter today. Last but not least, let's get this revolution started by sharing this video with family and friends. Haru Nefer, so welcome. I want to talk to you about a very important subject, which is the revolution. So as we see, they say the reset is happening. A lot of people have been calling for a type of revolution, a change. We see that in our Western world, there is disparity between the wealthy and the rich, the black and the white. And there is this cry for change, for revolution. But we must understand something, and this is what gets us into a trap, specifically every 4 years. You see, the ruling elite is very clever in how it manipulates the masses. They know that you have a very short memory, and all they have to do is to create the illusion of change, and you'll fall for it. And we have seen that in the presidential election. And really, to a large degree, it has saddened me. 2020 has saddened me because we have seen the majority of the Americans drink the Kool-Aid. They bought into this whole idea of every 4 years, if they put new curtains up or window dressing, we'll fall for it and believe that there's going to be some significant change, but it's just window dressing, and you have these, and many of them are new generation hopeful Americans that the next president or next Senate or Congress will make significant change. And it never happens. And it's not supposed to happen, but it's to give you the illusion of change. So we talk about this revolution, and many, especially when you start getting down to white supremacists, black nationalists, talk about a military uprising or storming the government or doing what's necessary to force the government to comply. But one thing that we have to realize is that the power is within the people, because if you understand your ancestry, if you understand where you come from, both black and white, we come from Africa, we come from ancient Kamau, ancient Kemetic people. We understand that we are gods and we have the ability to shift to parallel realities. That reminds me, I've been doing a lot of astral projection lately, and I went to this one world where I absolutely loved it. And I'm not going to get to the details of what was there, the beings that I met and so forth. But when I came back, ever since that point, which happened about a week and a half ago, I've been trying to get back there, and then my efforts have been in vain. I'm going to other places, other space-time continuums, but I haven't been able to get back to that one place. And I've been to other places that have been just as good, but I wanted to get back to that one place because I kind of now have an affinity for it. And it's been very difficult. I haven't gotten back there, so I've been a little bit, sad at that. My person, but not my true self. My person is a little bit sad about that. So I'm still continuing in my efforts to get back there. And if you haven't learned the technique of astral projection, I really advise that you study it and get into it. It is one of the most phenomenal experiences in your life. It is life-changing. In fact, I had a life-changing experience I did a video on last year. I believe it was last year, where I was at a gas station pumping gas, and I had an out-of-body experience to where my consciousness projected to a spacecraft in outer space. and I was able to go through the craft and look at the different rooms. I didn't see any life forms, alien or human. I didn't see anybody. But it actually, when I came back to my physical body, it was a life-altering experience, because up until then, I have been a practitioner of different states of consciousness, but never have I unwillingly projected my consciousness out there. So something happened to do that. And the experience was so profound, it made me realize, beyond the theoretical study, that we are much more than a physical body. We are consciousness, and that there's no limitation. We can travel to wherever we want. You see, one of the things that many of the people in the so-called Hotep community get caught up in, and that is book knowledge. That's Sebek. Sebek has left brain. So you read books and you think you're knowledgeable, and that's what Sebek does. But Tahuti is wisdom. Tahuti is higher on the tree of life than Sebek. And when you experience something firsthand, it changes you. And when I did that, when I had that profound experience, that second time I had an out-of-body experience, I was radically changed. The first time I had an out-of-body experience, which you can call the ND, I think it's the NDE experience, near-death experience, was when I was thrown into a pool and almost drowned. And I actually saw my body. I had an out-of-body experience where I saw my body paddling in the water, trying to survive. And that was at a very early age. Some kids were playing around. They threw me in the water, and I had that out-of-body experience. But as a kid, you don't think too much of it. But the gas station experience was so profound, I actually wanted to write a book about that, of what happened actually. So I want you to understand that when I talk about astral projection, visiting these different realms, they are real. These are not imaginary. They're not concocted by the brain in REM or sleep mode. These are real realms that exist, and there are beings that exist in these realms, and you can interact and experience them if you meet certain conditions, if certain things within your consciousness happens. It's not easy, but this is something our ancestors mastered through working with certain herbs and potions and things to travel to the afterlife, travel through the stars. And I did a previous video, check it out, which says that you are a stargate. And that is true. You have the ability to travel to different realms. But I'm sorry, I digress. Let's get into this topic at hand here. So we know something's wrong with the world we're in today. And when I speak to people or lecture or what have you, I realize that they don't understand the totality of the situation, the predicament that they're in. You see, we look at ourselves and we think that this is who we're supposed to be. We're complete. No, we're not. You must understand it is like the emperor has no clothes and doesn't realize it. You have been stripped of everything, real knowledge, real power, but you think you're complete. It is like finishing 5th grade, but think you have a college diploma. You've been tricked and hoodwinked. You understand? You are a work in progress. Who you are now has been socially engineered to be intellectually retarded, spiritually impotent. So you have nothing, but you think that this is how you're supposed to be. You think everything is okay with who you are. And the mere fact that Sebek 2D will tell us you think, therefore you don't know. Because if you know, you wouldn't have to think. So I am telling you, you are a pale shadow of what your potential is, of what you are supposed to be, what your ancestors envisioned you to be. They would be ashamed if they looked back, if they were to exist today, if the great Imhotep were to stand before us. Imhotep would cry at how intellectually immature we are, how uncivilized we are, but we think we're okay. I was talking to one woman, she's she's was white, and we had a conversation, and I was telling her, I said, you know, you're a product of social engineering. You are not complete. This is not how the world is supposed to be. The space-time continuum has been interrupted. We don't remember because they've implanted a virus in the thoughts of every person on this planet to forget their history. But there was a point in time where you could communicate through telepathy. You didn't need to have verbal communication. There was a time when you wanted to travel to Jupiter, you can just project your thought. You didn't need a spacecraft. You could speak with alien entities and interdimensional beings. This is a natural thing that you possessed, but it has been stripped from you. You see, the ruling elite took control of the planet and started to retard the progress of the planet and the intellectual capacity of the people on the planet to make you deaf, dumb, and blind. You are in a stupor state and you don't even know it. Speaking with one person, I had to tell him just point blank, shut up, because you're talking and you're trying to defend a position and you don't even know that you don't know. You see, you don't know that you don't know. And that is the worst type of person, to argue based upon a premise when they don't even understand the fact that they're so intellectually ignorant that they don't even understand the premise they're trying to advocate for. When you don't understand your history, and most of you don't because it has been erased from the collective consciousness, the ruling elite has downloaded a virus into the collective consciousness to make you forget your past. We don't know what happened in the past. We know there was a global catastrophe that retarded the progress of the entire planet. We know that for sure. We don't know what caused it. We don't know exactly who's responsible for it. But the one thing we do know is when that started, it took us from the it took us from the moon cult to the sun cult, which is the worship of the male principle and the left brain. And that damned us to hell. And you can tell how intellectually retarded we are because we fall victim to the Hegelian dialectic. We fall victim to this idea of every 4 years because you have window dressing, things change. There's hope. You cannot have a revolution. So please stop talking about a revolution. I want you, and if you're listening to this broadcast, you are part of the few, the chosen, and the select to receive this golden information. And now no one can debate you on this because what I'm about to give you is fact, is truth. They're different, but whatever. Fact is Sebek, truth is Ma'at. Please stop talking about a revolution. You cannot have a revolution. And I'm going to explain it to you. Because those who talked about a revolution are dumb as all hell. Dumber than the pimp pastors that stand up on a pulpit and teach you every Sunday. Yes, they are stupid. They are not schooled in the advanced Egyptian mystery system, so they read a book and they don't even know how to interpret it correctly. They're the dumbest of the dumb, the blind leading the blind, the Paul Pipers. Get it together, my beloved. I have these brothers and sisters in the Kemetic community who be reading the Metunetta and the Book of the Dead, and they're like, I like to debate you, Qesankh. I'm like, you're too stupid to debate me. You think because you read some books and you have a bit of intellectual prowessness that you know what you're talking about? Yet you go around talking about a revolution and you have no concept of what that really means and what the results will be? You're talking about a people, let me explain to you. All these characters, these cast of characters are connected. The head of NASA, the Vatican, Nazis, Aleister Crowley, they're all connected. Schooled in black magic. And you think you're going to have a revolution against them? Do you really think you could win against them? But this is not even a matter of winning or losing. Because even if you won, you would lose. And I'm going to explain to you why. And there's no saying you cannot solve a problem using the same mindset that created a problem. So you cannot solve a left brain problem using the left brain. It's not going to work. This is why in the story of Asar said, Haru went to Tahuti for wisdom on how to beat Set. But we're not going to Tahuti, which is the right brain, which is the Akashic records. We're still trying to intellectually come up with schemes to try and outwit these individuals who are the masters of scheming. They have come up with a 500-year plan of where they want to take the planet. And you think that you're just going to sit there and come up with a revolution that's going to counteract this 500-year plan that they have set in place with all of the military might, with all of the world's money banks. And you think that you're going to defeat them. Stop talking about a revolution. Because you're supporting their efforts anyway, indirectly. Let me explain something to you. And this gets into higher knowledge and higher wisdom. If you have a revolution and you remove those people in positions of power who you think are immoral, and then you put in place people who you think have, or just say who you believe are altruistic, moral, all you have really done is window dressing. All you've really done is done a nice, neat paint job. You see, society has produced corruption. And no matter who you put in office, it will always be corrupt. Because society endorses a mindset and legitimizes that mindset. And no matter who you put in office, it still will be corrupt. Because you're going to have to deal with this. The vibration of the planet is out of sync. The thinking of the masses of the people are out of sync. Let me give you an example. There could have never have been a Hitler if the masses of Germans were not operating at that vibrational frequency. I'll say it again. There could never have been a Hitler if the masses of the German people were not operating at that vibrational frequency. Because like attracts like. You cannot interact with something you're not on the same vibrational frequency of. So what I'm telling you is you don't want to just move pieces around on a chessboard because the pieces will stay the same and the game will be the same. You remove the president with a new president, that president will be just as corrupt. Move a senator with a new senator that you think is going to be for LGBTQ rights, that senator will be just as corrupt. Because the system, the structure of how we've been socially engineered spawns this corruption. This is why in Africa it says it takes a village to raise a child. And this is why in Africa they said that if someone was out of pocket, stepped out of bounds, and did the wrong thing, they looked at the community and said, what did we do wrong to produce such a person? They didn't look and convict the person. The people that are in the prison industrial complex are put there by design because they're involved in a system to where they couldn't win, and the system immediately was structured to put them away and lock them away for good. Because if the system was one built upon morality and ma'at, you know what you would have? You would have the system looking at the system saying the system is corrupt. LA, that is correct. That is absolutely correct. 100% correct. A system which checks itself, but not lays blame on individuals and then locks them away and puts them on death row. That is not a just system. When someone is born into a system that is racially unequal, economically unequal, that is the fault, whatever they do after that, of the system, not of the individual. The individual is going to act in accordance with his or her circumstances. So what I'm telling you is that you have a society that has been spawned by left brain evil thinkers. Their corruption is clear. And removing people from positions of power in Washington or whatever government, in the parliament, wherever, will do nothing for change. Storming the government and demanding justice, who are you going to put in place? Who's going to be there? We've seen how coups work in the past. Castro came into power and was only supposed to come into power for a limited time, but look how long he was in power. So when you talk about the revolution, the masses of the people's mentality is not ripe for change, is not ripe for a revolution. The masses of the people are intellectually ignorant. They're deaf, dumb, and blind. So who is going to sit at the throne? If you remove Set, who's going to sit? Sebek? You're going to still have the same problem then. Don't you see the situation you're in? Now here's what has to happen. And let me explain this to you. If you want a real revolution, you must first start with the masses of the people and the energy vibration that permeates the planet. That is the only way. First, you have to instill ma'at. What do I mean by that? Morality. The Western world is divorced of morality. There's no morality in the Western world. There's no morality in the judicial system. There's no morality in the educational system. And there's damn sure no morality in the religious institutions. So we're going to have to go back and understand what morality is and start to implement that. A legal system that defends Wall Street bankers that rob people and say, well, they have a right to legal representation. A system that allows your presidents to rape the country, create wars, lie about wars, and is allowed to go free. No arrests, no impeachments. I'm talking presidents that create wars, fictional wars, justification for wars, to rape third world countries of their natural resources, to bankrupt third world countries so that we can control the centralized banking systems. We can take their money, put the people, the masses of people in abject poverty. So there needs to be an understanding and an instilling of the idea of morality as the highest principle. You know what's the highest principle now? Sebek, intellectual cunningness. We see Gordon Gekko in Wall Street and we admire him. We admired the greed of the 80s. We admired the Don Trumps because they were your masters of the universe, the real estate bankers. We admired that. The get rich quick schemes, to get rich and die trying. It was we who created these people. So we must instill morality. The next thing we have to do is we have to get rid of polarized thinking, the Hegelian dialectic. You see, we're too caught up in seeing things in black and white, right and wrong, that sets you up for this us versus them attitude. We must stop that type of attitude. You must understand two things can be right at the same time and two things can be wrong at the same time. You can have two presidents that are evil. Just because one is an incumbent and one is running doesn't mean one is good and one is bad. They both can be evil. How can you not see it? You know, they both can be racist. How can we not see that? We must get rid of this polarized thinking. You're either for America or you're against us. You're either for democracy or you're against us. You're either right or you're wrong. That thinking has caused destruction on the planet. Christian religion, we have the true way. Islam, Allah is the only, Islam is the only way. It is the natural religion. This polarized thinking, this sebek thinking, right versus left, right versus wrong. It is destructive. We have to bring back cosmological thinking, meaning thinking based on form, function, hierarchy within the scheme of the ecology. Next, we have to bring in 4D thinking, fourth dimension thinking. You see, we look at the symptoms, but we never look at the root cause. Oh, look at that bum on the street, the hobo. He's filthy. He's disgusting. Why can't he get his act together? Look at all the circumstances that brought this man to a state of homelessness. You see, I have to have two different conversations, one with my black brothers and sisters and one with my white brothers and sisters. I can say to my black brothers and sisters, you know, there's a lot of immorality and corruption in the black community, but that's not put there by us. It's put there by the ruling elite. They have constructed it and interfered in our natural way to destroy us as a people. Now, I can't say that to my white brothers and sisters and say, you know, there's some corruption in the black community, because they would be like, yeah, why can't black people get their act together? Because they can't see the extenuating circumstances of what brought us to the condition we're in today. They don't see it. They can't see it. So I have to have a different type of conversation with them. I kind of don't bring that up, but I want you to understand we have to have relational thinking. We have to understand that something is valued and defined by its relation to other things. And we have to stop looking at things isolated and in a silo. That type of thinking is very limited. This is why Christian ministers look at the Bible and only see it from a concrete perspective. They can't see the symbolism, the analogies, the occult meanings behind it, because they're trapped in three density thinking, third dimension thinking. But when you go 4D, you go into the depth and you see relationships, you see contextual things, how things have a value, not in and of themselves, but as I said before, by their relation to other things. And then you know how to judge them properly. You know how to put them into context properly. As I told you, You would think Hitler just came out of nowhere and did something. I say, no, Hitler is a product of the mental vibration of the German people. When you understand that, then you know that you have to make sure that the people's needs and welfares are taken care of, because if their mind goes into the wrong places, it lends itself on evil individuals. That's why in Kemetic community in Africa, we made sure that we always kept the community in check, and we looked at things from a systematic perspective, and not blaming and placing the sole responsibility on the individual. When I talk about people getting into meditation, they say, oh, yeah, I do transcendental meditation. I said, but do you do the tree of life meditation? They go, what is the difference? Because the tree of life meditation takes a cosmological look at it, meaning it understands that your problem is not just caused by one particular incident, but it looks at the totality of things as within a belief ecosystem. And it addresses everything from a different perspective. It looks at the ecology of your system, your belief system. It just doesn't look at the one thing. Because there is an interdependence and interconnectedness with everything. And we understand from right brain thinking, a lot of the times the symptoms is caused by something that indirectly affects it. If my head hurts, could be caused by something that's not right in my big toe. But you would think because my head hurts, I just need an aspirin. But no, if I just some acupressure on my big toe, it could relieve the headache. That is an indirect way of looking at it. But we're so in tune to Cartesian thought process that we automatically just think one-to-one correlation. That is not how the universe works. The universe doesn't obey Cartesian logic. It goes by indirect causes and effects. Our sun explodes, and then all the other planets shift in Alpha Centauri, even though it's light years away. Well, how could that be? Because it's a whole ecosystem, a living, breathing system. We must then, the next thing is we must now put into place dual brain thinking, using both hemispheres of the brain, right and left. When you do that, you become a genius. That is how our ancestors built their ancient societies of Atlantis, of Egypt, the Mayan cultures, the Chinese dynasties, using whole brain thinking. Whole brain thinking also brings into the picture contextual thinking and relationship thinking. And with that, we must now bring in intuition. Start using our third eye, our intuitive faculties, which have laid dormant for far, far too long. This is the absence of thought, to connect with the Akashic records, to connect with Hermes Trismegistus, Tha Tahuti, for supreme wisdom. That was a technique we mastered in ancient times. Also going to the oracles. And last but not least, for a successful revolution, we must curb our emotionalism. We must identify with our true selves. You see, there's two parts to you. There is the self and there is the person. But before I get into that, I want to let you guys know that I am drinking my Waters of Nun. So if you haven't had an opportunity, check it out at watersofnun.com. And this is water that has been, because water can hold memory. It has been programmed for things like success, confidence, wealth, and attraction. That's why I look so pretty. I drink the attraction water. So go to watersofnun.com and you can order yourself some bottled water. It tastes just like, that was good. It tastes just like regular water. But the molecules have been charged using ancient mantras and binaural beats and crystals to vibrate at a certain frequency, and that frequency is that success, confidence, wealth, or attraction. It's very inexpensive water, so there's a lot of information that really goes into how we put it together, the health benefits and everything. So I have made it a concerted effort since last year to not drink anything, but I'll have a green tea, but mostly I'll have water. Okay. So because your body is 85% water, we do not get enough, 80 to 85% water, we do not get enough water in our diet. So when you go into a restaurant, don't purchase any soda, any fountain drinks. Just get water. Preferably order my water, take it with you and drink it. And the more you drink it, the more your particles in your body become energized with that particular frequency. So I've set it up. Check it out at watersofnone.com. All right. So I said there's two divisions to who you are. There is the self, and then there is the person. The person is the ego, who you've become in living on this planet. And we've already talked about that the Western world is corrupt. So you are a composite of that, and you indirectly support that by your vibrational frequency. The self is who you really are, which is consciousness, God within. That's who you are. There's two divisions to that. The reason why the ruling elite have been able to win is because we identify with the person. You see, the person is afraid of death. The person wants to buy the latest iPhone, computer. The person wants to have body augmentation, have bigger breasts and bigger booty. But I saw this woman today, she was short. And she was fairly attractive, but had the biggest booty. And I'm thinking, my God, how far do you want to go to try and look better? It just doesn't work. But anyway, I digress. So they win by getting you to identify with the person, so that when they roll their tanks up and they're military men and they're police, you become afraid. But if you are identifying with the self, who you really are, which is an infinite being, you do not fear death. And if you do not fear death, there's nothing they can do against you. Then they know their time is limited when you start to identify with the true self. And when you start to identify with the true self, then you know you can transition to a different dimension and have a different experience than the one you're having here. Be careful though, because if you go to that different dimension and have a different experience and you come back here, you're going to miss that experience so much. You're going to want to go back and back and back. So I want you to keep that in mind, that is how they win every time. It is like the wolf or the fox chasing a bunch of chickens. If the chickens turned around and noticed that they are greater in number than the fox, they could beat the fox. So we are greater in number than the ruling elite. And there are the foxes chasing us around. If we stop identifying with the fear, we can get out of our situation tomorrow. But we are so trapped in the psychology of the person, the ego, that we fear everything. You must understand, this is one life among an infinite number of lives. You're going to live on and 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 on to infinity. You have nothing to fear. And at that moment, if your death does come for you, you just say, I'm just going to transition to a different dimension, a different plane of existence, one where I will be happy, and project your soul in that direction and die peacefully, knowing that it's not the end, it's just the beginning. But you are trapped in this belief system of thinking death is the end. They have constructed that idea on purpose. It is all a scheme. My beloved, I am telling you, they have concocted this world to scheme and to lie and to deceive us. They have created these fictional religions to keep us trapped in thinking we need a outside savior. They have kept us away from the knowledge of the right brain so that we will not meditate, we will not astral project, we will not investigate the duat, the after death realm. They have kept us from a knowledge of our past lives to make you think that incarnation or reincarnation is fraudulent, is an illusion. They have constructed so many lies. And we've bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. And you want a revolution? You want to put one of these nut jobs into office from the general population who's been bred in this left brain, ignorant society? You think that you can just go to Washington, remove people, and put someone else there who you think is more righteous? That's not going to work. They're just going to institute the same old system that you've been fighting against. They're not going to do anything better than the one that's already there. You have to first start by saying, all right, people, before we have this revolution, there's some things we got to do. We got to get rid of polarized thinking. We got to bring in 4D thinking. We got to bring dual brain thinking. We got to curb emotionalism and embrace the self and get rid of the person. You got to do that first before you even think about a revolution. Because if you dare do a revolution and were to appoint a new leader, he may be vicious. He may be a dictator. You don't know, or he or she. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know that you don't know. Go ahead and put someone else in office and see what happens. Ask the Russians how that worked for them. You're just moving chess pieces around on the chessboard. You've got to change the minds and the hearts of the people before you put someone else in office. You have to change the total vibrational frequency of the planet before you put somebody in office and put a new system in place. What happened at the end of the Hunger Games? They got rid of the leader and they put this woman in power who is just as corrupt and wanted to keep the Hunger Games going. She says, oh, but we'll only keep it going for just a limited time, just for a short time. Be very careful of this cry for revolution because you don't know what you're getting yourselves into. It's a dangerous game. Make sure you work on your spirituality. Make sure you work on self of being the likeness of God. This is why when you look in ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet, every pharaoh and his queen gave veneration to the gods, and they equated themselves with different deities, not out of ego, but to say that they had the virtues of God, that they emulated God. So the people knew that they were righteous and that their power was very limited because, Western society would have you think that the pharaoh, the queen had absolute rulership. No. It was the priesthood. The priesthood. If you got out of line, the priesthood took you out. Look at what happened with Akhenaten. Tried to get rid of all the Egyptian deities. Where is he at now? Removed from the history books. Priesthood said, you're not going to do that. You're not going to remove our deities that we've been worshiping for thousands of years. They went back, did a ritual, and he's gone. They can find no record of what happened to him and his queen. So I want you to think about that. You know, that's absolutely true. We can be at peace through the realization that the adversity is beneficial to act as a genuine demand for wisdom and spiritual power. That is absolutely 100% true. And peace is our true nature. Amen. That's who we really are. Peace in the face of adversity. They come at you and they say, well, we're going to kill you for talking about this whole left brain, right brain thing and spirituality. I said, that's all right. I'll be back. You're just killing my body, but I'll be back. You know, I'm not afraid. It's a physical death, not a spiritual death. My spirit will go on and on and on. And if you kill me, then you're going to be dealt with in the underworld. Because there's a thing called karma, you see. And Ma'at don't play that. I want to thank you all for tuning into this message today. If you get an opportunity, please donate to the channel. This is Qesankh Ma'at Keperu, son of Ma'at and Tahuti. Ma'at is the beautiful goddess Heteru. Until my next video, Amen Ra.